Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. American Comics. The Strongest Master, Killing Through the Multi-Universe. Chapter 76. After a long time, even Kamar Taj started to play elimination system. Su Chen then thought of the man Dr. Strange asked before coming here. The man who was completely disabled suddenly became alive and kicking after missing for a while. Apparently he was the apprentice magician who was selected to enter Kamar Taj to learn magic, but was eliminated. Through the Avengers Alliance 4 light door opening, watch the scenes of various forces stopping Thanos. There are literally hundreds of magicians in Kamar Taj. It does seem like a lot. But if you compare it to the billions of people around the world, you know how demanding the conditions for becoming a magician are. As the two of them moved forward, the magicians in the square put their right hands on their left chests and bowed to the Ancient One. At the same time, his eyes looked at Chen Chen with a bit of surprise. Who is this person? He was actually brought back by the Sorcerer Supreme himself, and he was able to walk side by side with the magician, 277. This situation is obviously very rare. The Ancient One magician is a godlike existence in the eyes of the Kamar Taj magicians. There are people who go hand in hand with their gods. This surprised them. Magician, are you back? Just when the two of them were about to arrive at the magnificent wooden building in front of everyone's surprised eyes, a man with dark skin walked over. He glanced at Su Chen, slightly confused. He bowed to the Ancient One. Ancient One nodded and introduced to the man, "This is Su Chen." He glanced at Su Chen again and said, "Modu, Senior Magician." Su Chen raised his eyelids and wondered, is this guy Modu? He is already a senior magician. Just now, Ancient One magician introduced some information about Kamar Taj to Su Chen, including the magician level here. Apprentice Magician, Elite Magician, Senior Magician, Grand Magician, Sorcerer Supreme. Senior Magician is the third level. At the moment, Modo was in his 20s, a few years older than him. This means that the opponent's magic ability is also very high. However, Su Chen, who knew the plot, would not regard this guy as a kind person. When Caecilius relied on the power of Dormammu to do evil, I learned that the Ancient One magician has been secretly absorbing Dormammu's power to fight against the darkness. Just all faith collapsed. Then pursue your so-called light. This guy's character, to put it mildly, is too rule-abiding. To put it bluntly, it means that I don't know how to adapt. In Su Chen's view, at the last moment, whether it is the power of darkness or the power of light, as long as you can maintain your original intention and fight against evil, you will still be righteous. However, Su Chen always felt that this guy didn't seem to be because of this incident. It is very possible that Strange appeared on the way. Not only is his ability better than him, but he also got the Sorcerer Supreme position that he had long wanted for a long time. I feel very unwilling. Only then did Kamar Taj. Actually, to be honest, the Sorcerer Supreme location. Even without Strange, there is still the Great Magician King. Even if the position falls to Wong, it will not fall to him. All I can say is that this guy had a pretty good idea from the beginning. In fact, Su Chen could see a hint of vigilance in the other party's eyes. Apparently, he discovered that the Sorcerer Supreme Ancient One had a different attitude towards him. I started to be wary. Su Chen just felt a little funny about this. Really, there are people like this everywhere. However, Su Chen still acted very indifferently and said with a smile, "Hello, magician." "Hello, Mr. Su Chen." Although Modu was a little wary, he still responded with a smile. Ancient One doesn't care what Modu thinks, she naturally already knows what Modu will do in the future. But for the normal development of the timeline, she will not interfere. The Ancient One asked Mordo to continue teaching magic to the trainee magicians. He took Su Chen into the main hall. The main hall is very empty, with only a few rows of bookshelves, tables and chairs. Then the palm of his hand turned slightly, and a tea set appeared on the table in front of Su Chen. Ancient One looked at Su Chen and asked, "What to drink?" "Anything works," Su Chen replied. Then, I saw Gu, with a wave of his hand, a magical light covered the teapot. After Su Chen sat down, he said, "Ancient One magician, you came to me because you want me to learn magic." Su Chen knew that the other party must have other purposes. Ancient One picked up the teapot and poured a cup for Su Chen. Su Chen took it, got closer and smelled it, and it turned out to be wine. This ancient one seems a little different from the one he knew. Wine is used to entertain guests. Could it be that strange served Thor with beer because of his imitated tongue? Su Chen did not drink, but put the cup on the table. Ancient One poured himself a glass, and took a sip under Su Chen's surprised gaze. After letting out a comfortable sigh, he spoke. This is brewed with fruits specially cultivated by Kamar Taj, which can enhance physical fitness. However, Su Chen still didn't go to drink, just looked at Zan San. Seeing Su Chen's look, Ancient One smiled and said, I don't want you to learn magic. Your whole being comes from another world and is not originally in line with this world. But I don't know why, you actually adapted to this world. Even so, the gods of this world will not lend their power to you. Hearing what Ancient One said, Su Chen was slightly surprised. She actually knew that she was wearing one and had a plug-in. The unknown reason is obviously the GU Master System. What I didn't expect was that the gods of this world would actually reject outsiders. Obviously, he has no way to learn magic. I asked you to come here just because of you. Su Chen was stunned by Ancient One's sudden change of topic. Sorcerer Supreme actually wants to ask for help. This made Su Chen feel a little unreal. Then, I saw Ancient One speak seriously. I hope you can protect the timeline when multi-universe is fully opened in the future. I believe this, you can definitely do it. But, you should leave this matter to your successor Strange. Su Chen knows how the future will develop, and Ancient One must know it. Knowing that Ancient One had no ill intentions, Su Chen stopped being secretive when speaking. There are many changes in his future, and I don't know which timeline it will take. But you are different, you will not be affected by any timeline. I won't make this a mission for you, I just hope you can help me at the critical moment. Ancient One looked at Su Chen with extremely serious eyes, and his tone actually contained a hint of pleading. Su Chen lowered his head and thought for a long time, then nodded and said, Okay, but my current strength is not strong. The implication is that I am very good. Since you asked me to help, you can't do it in vain. At the moment, Su Chen's eyes slowly stopped at what was worn on Ancient One's chest. It is the Eye of Agamotto, the legendary time gem. Feeling Su Chen's gaze, Ancient One was slightly startled. Immediately, he showed an expression of, you are quite greedy. Seeing the other party looking at her like this, Su Chen felt a little embarrassed. Well, Ancient One Magician, I'm actually just curious about this thing, and I don't have any thoughts of coveting it. How strange. Even without using mind-reading magic, Inichi could already see through the other person's thoughts. With his hands clasped in front of his chest, the Eye of Agamotto slowly opened, revealing a time gem with a rich green glow inside. Ancient One slowly took out the gem and handed it to Su Chen. I can only lend you a week. Can? Su Chen looked surprised. To be honest, he had no intention of borrowing the time gem. You know, but Ancient One wants to use it to maintain the timeline. I didn't expect him to be so generous this time and agreed to lend it to me. Su Chen took it carefully and put it in the pocket inside her clothes. Just right here. Seeing Su Chen's actions, Ancient One spoke. Su Chen was stunned. Ancient One wants to analyze the time gem here by himself. Well, since he doesn't have anything important to do now, he can learn the secrets of time gem here. Seeing Su Chen agree, Ancient One casually drew the portal, with the square on the other side. Modu, go arrange a place for Su Chen to live. Modo was teaching magician trainees when a portal suddenly appeared next to him. Then, I saw Ancient One Magician and Su Chen. Okay. Mordo stepped into the portal. The portal is also closed directly. Ancient One glanced at Su Chen and then entered the space that looked like glass shards. Su Chen knew that the other party had entered his own mirror space. Su Chen held back the excitement in her heart, picked up the cup on the table and drank it in one gulp. Wait a minute, this wine is actually sour. Su Chen was a little surprised. At this time, a prompt sounded in her ears. Ding, one of the 4 flavors needed for synthesis of the wine bug has been detected, sour wine. Hearing this prompt, Su Chen's eyes lit up. Modu on the side heard Su Chen's words, nodded and explained. This is wine made from the fruit we cultivated in Kamar Taj. Although it has a bit of a sour taste, it can improve your physical fitness and increase your perception of magical elements. Su Chen was immediately excited and asked, "Is there any more wine like this?" No, no, no. I mean, do you have any other flavors of wine here? For example, besides this sour one, are there any sweet, spicy, etc.? Seeing Su Chen's sudden excitement, Yuandu was a little confused. But he still thought about it and replied, "There is another kind of sweet wine made from the fruit. But the spicy wine you mentioned is spicy like chili pepper, we Kamartaj really don't have any." That's enough, that's enough. Can you give me some of these two kinds of wine, please? Su Chen did not expect that this visit to Kamartaj would yield unexpected results. You will actually get the two flavors of wine that the four-flavor wine bug needs. Well, you are a guest invited by the Ancient One magician. This wine is not precious at all. There is a lot more in the cellar. I'll get you some jars of wine with the same taste as mine later. Obviously, Modu misunderstood that Su Chen was the kind of person who loved wine. Especially wine with a strange taste. Thank you, you are such a nice person. Su Chen shook Modu's hand excitedly. Now, Kamartaj is doing himself a big favor. All of a sudden, I saved $1 billion. However, I haven't seen any sweet wine yet, so I wonder if it will be suitable for synthesizing four-flavor wine bugs like this sour wine. Soon, under the guidance of Modu, Su Chen entered a separate wooden house. What Su Chen didn't expect was that the place where Kamartaj lived, which was all classical in style, would be so modern. The wooden house is about 90 square meters, with 2 bedrooms and 1 living room. The kitchen, hall, bathroom, and bedrooms are all equipped with modern appliances. When Su Chen wondered where the electricity for these appliances came from, Modu said, "You can feel free to live here these days. You can go anywhere here, including the library. A magician will bring you food later. If you want to leave, call me at any time. I will use the portal to send you back. Definitely, Time Gem will stay. Okay, I'll take my leave now." After Modu left, Su Chen took out the Time Gem from his pocket. I don't know if the system can analyze the power of this gem. Ding, it's been detected that the artifact contains a trace of the law of time. Is it reproduced as a GU insect? After being recarved into a GU insect, the host can be refined into its own GU insect. Obtain the corresponding ability. Can you still play like this? Hearing the sound of the system, Su Chen knew that he had made the right bet. The system can indeed obtain the power of those magical things in its own way. Reproduction. Without any hesitation, Su Chen directly chose to replicate the power of Time Gem. Joke, who wouldn't want the ability to control time? The components of this item have been detected to be complex and it will take 5 days to complete the analysis. 5 days. Anyway, 1 week is enough. As for the real world, he is not worried. He is relieved to have Jessica and Marissa Tomei watching the store. There is still a lot of time, and Su Chen doesn't want to waste it. First, take out the Iron Skin GU and Little Light GU from the orifice. Then, he mobilized the power of the GU King level in his body to cover the 2 GU insects. The 2 GU insects have been refined a long time ago and are very honest. But when they were enveloped in energy and wanted to become one with another GU insect, he also felt the crisis and began to struggle violently. The struggle of the 2 GU insects caused the energy released by Su Chen to begin to collapse. It's really difficult to practice GU worms together. However, Su Chen was not affected and increased his energy area. A stronger power enveloped the 2 GU insects, causing their bodies to melt and then merge together. Time flies by like this. Outside the world, Tony Stark returned to the villa and flew directly into the underground laboratory. I saw that the door of the laboratory had been blown open. The battle armor drawings placed on the test bench and the arc reactor drawings have disappeared. The computer is on, but it says it crashed on its own. Obviously, Obadiah wants to forcibly crack the computer password, but because of the high-level artificial intelligence JARVIS, he didn't succeed. Seeing the way the laboratory was bombed, Tony Stark's nose almost became angry. Shet, Obadiah. Fortunately, the drawings placed on the experimental table are only the most basic design drawings of the Mark I mecha. The design drawings of Mark II and Mark III are all in the computer. It's that the design drawings of the arc reactor were taken away by the other party. This technology is enough to subvert the world. No matter what, we must find this guy and stop him from doing anything harmful to society. Tony, are you okay? At this time, Little Pepper also walked down in a hurry. Seeing the miserable state of the laboratory, I was shocked. He hurriedly came to Tony Stark and looked up and down. She thought the other party had just had a battle, and that was why the laboratory was like this. Tony Stark touched the opponent's back with his mecha palm and comforted him. I'm fine, it was that guy Obadiah who did it. Pepper, he took away the design drawings of the Mark I armor and the arc reactor. I have to stop him, otherwise he will definitely do something crazy. But, ever since Tony was poisoned to death last time and was revived by Su Chen, she has understood her thoughts. She had already fallen in love with her boss. Definitely, Tony Stark has actually had thoughts about her for a long time. However, Tony had not experienced life and death at that time, so he could not calm down. After dying once and developing the Mark Mecha, Tony Stark also knew how much he had wasted his ability. Moreover, he also faced up to his emotional problems. Those women used to only care about his money. And after really feeling cared about by his lover, Tony Stark also felt that this feeling was really good. Why was he so carefree before? He almost let this feeling slip away. Thinking of this, Tony Stark's eyes were firm, and he would not let Obadiah succeed under any circumstances. Don't worry, I won't really fight for it. Tony patted the other person's back again and said. JARVIS will repair the Mark III armor first, and also search for traces of Obadiah throughout the United States. Yes, sir. Hell's Kitchen. In this poor area, a gorgeous building stands in complete contrast. On the top floor, a huge figure stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows. This man is none other than the underground emperor of Hell's Kitchen, Kingpin. The TV nearby was constantly showing news footage. Yesterday, an armed struggle broke out in the Middle East, and the terrorist organization 10 Rings was actually destroyed by an unknown weapon. This weapon is like a mechanical armor in a science fiction movie, which can launch missiles, energy cannons and other attacks. The screen also showed blurry footage of the Mark II flying in the air. After this news was broadcast once, it started to be broadcast again. Apparently, this has been played countless times. At this time, the door was opened, and the man with golden eyes walked in. Boss, Obadiah succeeded. Kingpin turned around and saw a bald man walking in behind the man with golden eyes. This man is none other than Obadiah, who was imprisoned a few days ago. At the moment, he was obviously a lot thinner than before. In hand, holding a folder. Obadiah, I hope you won't let me save you once in vain. Jin Bin looked at the other party, his face twitching slightly. Obadiah no longer had the demeanor of being the second in command of Stark Industries in the past, so he hurriedly said. Don't worry, Mr. Wilson, this is high-level technology developed by Tony Stark, and you will never be disappointed. I hope so. If it's not what you said, I will make you pay a heavy price. Jin Bin's voice was very calm, but it made Obadiah and the man with gold-rimmed glasses tremble. This is the majesty of the underground emperor. Obadiah nodded hurriedly. Yes, Mr. Kingpin. When saying this, Obadiah suppressed an angry expression. If it hadn't been for that guy who saved Tony Stark, he would have found out about himself. I will not end up like this. When this mecha is developed, he will definitely tear the opponent into pieces. Definitely, Tony Stark, too. When the time comes, if I take over Stark Industries, I will be able to make a comeback. Kingpin waved his hand, and Obadiah was sent out by the man with golden eyes. His connections spanned both the black and white circles. If he hadn't seen the Mark Mecha, he wouldn't have paid any attention to Obadiah asking for help from him in prison. Moreover, he also wants to deal with that guy Su Chen. He had been eyeing Osborne Industry for a long time. He originally thought that when Osborne Industry collapsed, take it down without any effort. As a result, Su Chen actually acquired Osborne Industries halfway. This caught Kingpin off guard. Originally, after destroying the Mafia in the morning, Kingpin did not want to offend such a person with extraordinary ability. What's more, the opponent's power is so terrifying. However, the other party actually took the initiative to provoke him. This made him put the Emperor's face wherever he could. So what about those with super abilities? It's not like he hasn't come into contact with Daredevil and those old monsters from the Hand. If you dare to provoke yourself, you must pay the price. He rescued Obadiah and helped the other party invade the other party's underground laboratory while Tony Stark was away. Just to seize the opponent's mecha research results. He had high hopes. If Obadiah couldn't figure it out, he would have to pay a heavy price. Soon, the man with golden eyes came back and said, "Boss, what should we do next?" "It's impossible to deal with Su Chen with the poisonous scorpion." Kingpin thought for a moment and said, "I definitely know. With the poisonous scorpion and Obadiah's unreliable mecha technology, I definitely can't deal with Su Chen. If this is the case, then find a few more guys who hate Su Chen. Like that lizard monster. Boss, what if the three of them still can't defeat Su Chen?" The man with gold-rimmed glasses is obviously very afraid of Su Chen. Even those mutants may not be able to defeat Su Chen. There was a hint of irritation on Kingpin's face. Snapped. The red wine glass shaking in his hand was crushed by him just like that. Glass shards slid down the palm of your hand. It didn't hurt Kingpin's calloused palms. The man with gold-rimmed glasses was startled and quickly lowered his head. "I'm afraid that the next one to be crushed will be his head." Finally, when the temperature in the room was about to freeze, this happened. "I remember a few days ago, Su Chen and Daredevil destroyed a vampire nest. Judging from the intelligence at the time, there was a Count-level blood clan in that vampire lair. However, it seems that the other party's body was not found at that time." He stopped here, but the man with gold-rimmed glasses already knew what the boss was going to say. He hurriedly said, "I will send someone to check the vampire lair right now, hoping to find the vampire count." Jin Bing nodded slightly. De Li Hao asked someone to clean up. "Have you found all the sparring partners for today?" "I'll call someone over right now." "The sparring partners are already here, boss." The two walked out of the room overlooking most of New York and took the elevator to the underground fighting arena. This is the fighting arena that Kingpin built specifically for himself. At the moment, there were already 10 people waiting there on the fenced fighting field. 9 of the figures looked very fierce. Obviously he is also a veteran in combat. But at the moment they did look solemn and quite nervous. Only one of them was dressed very strangely. In other words, very funny. This man was wearing a unique red combat uniform, with 2 short knives crossed behind his back. The face is wearing an exaggerated panda mask. When Jin Bin saw this person, he immediately became unhappy and asked, "Is this funny joker here to perform comedy?" Obviously, Kingpin felt that such a person, as skinny as a stick, would never be able to fight. Upon hearing the question, the man with gold-rimmed glasses hurriedly explained. "Boss, although this man looks funny, he claims to be a killer and has very strong fighting ability." "Yeah, don't think I'm not as big as them, so I don't have the fighting ability. I, Deadpool, I'm very strong." "Too much talk. How could I have come here if I hadn't been short of money? By the way, as long as I survive in your hands, can you really give me 100,000? Obviously hearing the conversation between the two, the man in the panda mask immediately started shouting. But it's obviously a lot to talk about. If Su Chen were here, he would definitely recognize who this person is at first sight. It's none other than the famous Deadpool. Definitely, his name is not because of how powerful he is, but because of his character. Besides talking too much, he is just mean. Apparently, Kingpin also felt it. There are so many sparring partners here, and knowing that the person you are fighting against is you are all a little nervous. At the moment, the other 9 people on the field had a normal reaction. Is it possible that this guy really doesn't know his name is Kingpin? Jin Bin glanced at the man with gold-rimmed glasses, who immediately understood and said, "As long as you can persist in 10 moves against the boss, you can get 100,000. As soon as these words came out, the eyes of the 10 people on the field, including Deadpool, lit up. Just survive 10 strokes. If this is the case, within 10 of them, they can at least persevere. Okay, I keep my word, I have to get the money back quickly to buy new clothes for my wife, I can't waste time." Deadpool exaggeratedly danced his own dance on the field, no different from a monkey jumping up and down. Soon, Kingpin, who had put on his combat uniform, pulled up the rope fence and entered the field. "Let's go together." Several men with fierce temperaments looked at each other and then attacked Jin Bin. After more than 10 seconds, all that was left on the field were broken limbs and broken arms, as well as a body with too much air coming in and too little air coming out. Another pile of rubbish. Jin shook off the blood on his hand with disdain. He was about to leave, but then a very mean voice came from behind him. Hey, boss, I lasted 10 strokes in your hands, and I didn't die. You have to fulfill your promise. The kingpin turned around sharply. Then he saw the strangely dressed man who was torn in half by him. I didn't know when I got up. Stand up with the remaining half of his body and look at him. Do you have super ability? Kingpin was well informed and saw that Deadpool, whose eldest son and gambling son had all his money, was still alive and kicking. What immediately came to mind? Bay. Even if he is still alive after being like this, he is obviously not an ordinary person. Well, if I can't die and can grow new parts quickly. If it can be considered as super ability, then I have super ability. But even so, my salary is important. Don't even think about defaulting on your debt. Deadpool's words seem very modest, but in fact he is deliberately showing off. Kingpin naturally heard what the other party meant. However, the face that has never changed its expression has a rare surprise at the moment. Definitely, not only will you get a training fee of 100,000 yuan, I will also give you an extra 500,000 a month. The premise is that you are willing to work here. As soon as these words came out, Deadpool was stunned for a moment, and then made an exaggerated gesture of holding his face in his hands. After squealing several times, he said excitedly, Okay, I'm willing to be your subordinate, but I have to add a little more. And, let me explain in advance. I can leave whenever I want, but you can't tie me down. Otherwise, I would be so anxious that I would jump over the wall. Bah, I'm not a dog, I'm not someone to mess with anyway. After earning enough money, he and Vanessa flew away and lived a life without shame or noise. Then give birth to some little Wades. No, what should it be called? The boss should be called Francis. No, that guy's name won't become my son's name. In just a few seconds, Deadpool has already thought about a better life with his wife in the future after he makes enough money. No problem, I'll give you another 200,000. But I want you to do something, and you can't shirk it, even if it's killing someone. Kim nodded without the slightest hesitation. Okay boss, I will be at your disposal from now on. Deadpool only has his upper body left now, otherwise he will definitely have to dance again. In response, Jin Bing's smile became more obvious. He glanced at the man with gold-rimmed glasses and he immediately understood. Kingpin got on the elevator, his expression turned cold again. With this unexpected bonus, I am much more confident in dealing with Su Chen. So what if you have super ability? You are not the only one in this world. Lean less. A group of medical personnel came to help Deadpool bandage up and temporarily put him in a wheelchair. At the same time, many people cleaned the fighting arena. The defective bodies of those people were swept away like garbage. Then, the man with gold-rimmed glasses handed a black box to Deadpool in the wheelchair and said, This is your 100,000 yuan sparring fee and your first month's salary. Thank you so much. Thank our boss for me. Although this boss is a beast, no, he is worse than a beast. But it's very generous. Anyway, he is a killer and has no bottom line. The other party is willing to pay a large price to hire him, so why not? Deadpool hurriedly took the black box and caressed it like a lover. The man with gold-rimmed glasses felt sick when he looked like that. But he still said before leaving, By the way, I have sent people to protect your woman. I don't know what's wrong with you that has offended so many people on the road. You can recuperate here these days, your woman is safe. Okay, I will grow it soon, thank you. You are so considerate, I believe Vanessa will be safe. But let me tell you, I really didn't provoke those guys on my own initiative, it was them. The man with gold-rimmed glasses really didn't want to stay any longer, otherwise he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to help but hit someone. Besides, he still has to arrange for people to find the lizard people in the Earl of the Blood clan. Looking at the man with gold-rimmed glasses leaving, Deadpool's eyes narrowed slightly behind his mask. The other party pretended to protect Vanessa, but in fact he was threatening him. However, now is not the time to fall out, he still wants to take advantage of this guy. He naturally knows who Jin Bin is, and the way he looked just now was all acting. Watching the beautiful nurse bandaging his wounds and being touched from time to time, Deadpool screamed in comfort. This startled the female nurse. This guy doesn't have that stuff anymore, what else can he use? After hurriedly bandaging, he left quickly. This guy is disgusting. Su Chen stayed in Kamar Taj for a week without knowing it. These days, he has completed the combined practice of Iron Skin GU and Little Light GU. It became a new second-level GU insect, Jade Skin GU. I definitely also combined Moonlight GU and Jade Light GU to create the second-level GU, Moonlight GU. As for other GU insects, they cannot be trained together yet. The prices of those GU insects in the mall are too expensive, and now the worst thing he has is money. Therefore, there is no way to buy GU insects to train with. Currently, the untrained voodoos include wine bug, cow voodoo, sucking voodoo, and needle voodoo. These first-level GU insects are now useless unless they are trained together to the second level. Now only Moonlight GU, Jade Skin GU, and Shadow Accompanying GU are level 2. There is also medical voodoo. Medical voodoo is definitely a voodoo that grows on its own and does not require joint training. 2 days ago, Moto sent him the wine they brewed in Kamar Taj. 3 jars of sour wine, 3 jars of sweet wine. Su Chen was right. Sweet wine has indeed been recognized by the system as a material for the 4-flavor wine, insect training. Nowadays, the only thing left after practicing the 4-flavor wine bug together is spicy wine. There is really no other way but to purchase it in the system mall. The price was 500 million, and I couldn't transfer the money to Norman Osborn. Because that is the company's circulating capital. If that doesn't work, you'll have to borrow it from Tony Stark. If it really doesn't work, just treat the other party as a shareholder. Anyway, he has already given himself 20 billion, so giving him a few shares is nothing. As for Yi Niu GU, the power of a lifetime is completely integrated into his body. When you are in the GU Master Realm, you can superimpose it with your own power and gain the power of 2 bulls. However, now that it has reached the level of the GU King, the Bull GU has no effect. Moreover, the system does not provide a clear method for joint training. You can only purchase GU insects that increase strength in the second turn. In other words, this GU insect is now useless. So Su Chen suddenly thought of an idea and asked, "System, can you recover a cow's poison? Since it is no longer useful, can it be recycled by the system?" The system responds quickly. Ding, the system can recycle GU insects. Then recycle it. The recovery was successful and 10 million knives were returned to the host. Grass. Vegetation name. After hearing the sound of the system, Su Chen cursed directly. A cow's poison in the mall sells for 1 billion. As a result, when it was time to recycle, only 10 million was given. This is 100 times worse. This system is so dark. Seeing the extra 10 million in the account, Su Chen always has the urge to jump. However, he said that he could not make such a move. Next comes the sucking voodoo and the needle voodoo. Both of these have clear training methods, and they can be trained together with other GU insects to become level 1 GU insects. Therefore, as long as you have money to buy GU insects to train with them, that's it. This actually made Su Chen relieved. Definitely, the biggest receipt these days is another item. Su Chen's power penetrated into an aperture, and then, like clockwork, a GU insect emitting light green light appears in front of you. This is his biggest gain these days. Time GU. This GU worm was obtained after forging the power of Time Gem. Definitely, just a reproduction, not an extraction. On the 5th day, Su Chen completed the reproduction. Then I got this GU worm. What surprised Su Chen was that this voodoo was actually a self-grown voodoo just like the medical voodoo. No need to practice together to upgrade, it will become stronger as the master's strength becomes stronger. Su Chen will also need stronger power zones because of his stronger strength. Mobilize energy and turn this clock-like GU insect into light that covers your whole body. After taking a look at the cup on the table, Su Chen touched it casually. The cup fell towards the floor. Su Chen stretched out his palm unhurriedly, and a green light flashed through. The cup actually stopped mid-empty. Even the spilled water stopped in the air. Definitely, it's not gravity. But Su Chen stopped time. The Gu King's excellent eyesight can see that even the dust in the air remains motionless in the air. Su Chen picked up the half-empty water glass and placed it on the table again. Then he snapped his fingers. Wow! The dispersed water fell on the floor, and the dust in the air continued to flow. Time is back to normal again. This is the skill given to Su Chen by Time Gu, time stops. Definitely, another skill is to change the flow rate of time. However, he is only the first level Gu King now. The skill can only be used within 100 square meters. However, this is already good. Su Chen never thought that she would have the power to control time. In that novel, there were Gu insects that could control time. The spring and autumn cicada that reborn Fang Leomo is one of them. However, I can only open the first level of the system mall. I haven't seen any information about spring and autumn cicada. That's a rank 5 Gu insect. It is estimated that the upper layers must be turned on to have such high-level Gu insects. Su Chen, can I come in? Just when it was time for Su Chen to go back, Modu's voice came from outside. Yes, Modo Magician, how's it going? Has your training progress improved? These days, although Su Chen also goes to the magician cafeteria in Kamar Taj. But most of the time, we practice Gu worms together in the room. Because of the instructions from the Ancient One magician, Modu sent meals to Su Chen several times. After going back and forth, the two gradually became familiar with each other. Modu also knew that he practiced something called Confucianism and Taoism. Although I don't understand it, through magician perception, I can feel that Su Chen's strength is probably not weaker than him. This made Modu's attitude towards Su Chen even more friendly. Fortunately, there has been great progress. Time Gem handed it over to the Ancient One magician for me and thanked her for me. I also abide by the agreement I made with her. Okay, after disturbing her for so long, it's time for me to go back. Thank you also to Modu Magician for taking care of me these days. We will meet again if we have the opportunity in the future. Su Chen handed the time gem back to Modu. He knew that Modu would not do anything inappropriate at this time. Besides, the Ancient One is in the mirror space, so she is probably keeping an eye on the outside world. When you say these words, you are actually saying them to the other party. Why don't you stay for a few more days? In fact, you can try to learn some basic magic. You don't need to borrow the God's Emperor. Mordu took the time gem with both hands and said doubtfully. Su Chen waved his hand and said, I still like my own cultivation method, magician and so on are not suitable for me. Okay, I'll see you later, don't forget to bring the wine. Just like that, Modu casually summoned a rope, and then waved it again, and the rope had tightly entwined the 6 jars of wine. Then, it floated in front of Su Chen. Su Chen took it and nodded to Modu. Mordo drew the portal. At this time, Su Chen also felt a gaze and knew that this was the Ancient One. He nodded to the air again and stepped into the portal. Opposite the teleportation gate is right outside the door of my shop. Su Chen walked into the store and saw 2 figures busy working. Boss, you are back. It was Marissa Tamai in work clothes who spoke. Seeing the black overalls with cute little insect patterns on the other person's body, Yinshin asked with some confusion. May, this work clothes. There are also several Chinese characters written on it, Su-style poisonous pet shop. Notes below are also in English. How come there are work clothes in the store after I have been away for a few days? I did it. At this time, Jessica's corpse wearing the same work clothes walked out. At the moment, Jessica's eyes were full of surprise when she saw Su Chen coming back. But it soon became a bit resentful. How come you stayed there for 7 days? Su Chen is not a slow person. It can be seen that Jessica is worried about her being away these days. The corner of his mouth raised slightly and he said, What? If I don't come back, will you have to hit Kamar Taj? I'm not stupid, those are magicians, and a portal can appear just by drawing a picture. If I fight them, wouldn't I suffer a lot? Jessica said something tough, but Marissa Tamai next to her betrayed her. Whoever is checking information about Kamar Taj on the internet these days is going to buy mountaineering equipment. Oh, Aunt May, I will ignore you tonight. Jessica felt so embarrassed that she hurriedly hid in the kitchen. At this time, happened to be evening, and we arrived at the hotel. Su Chen and Marissa Tomei looked at each other and smiled knowingly. What's going on these days? Su Chen knew that something must have happened during the few days he left. Marissa Tomei thought for a while, her eyes gradually brightened, and she looked at Su Chen and said, Peter recovered, but still stayed at Harry's house. But Mr. Stark came over 2 days ago. He also said that he has begun to use resources to erase the traces of that day. He said that it won't be long before we can go out with confidence and boldness. Marissa Tomei glanced at Su Chen, and when she saw the other person nodded for her to continue, she continued. S.H.I.E.L.D. sent a person 2 days ago, a person named Natasha Romanoff. Let us tell you that the Hydra bugs have been basically eradicated. Including Alexander Pierce, who wanted to take action against you, was also secretly imprisoned. They said, when you come back, you can call him. Then they'll send someone to bring it to you right away. After speaking, Marissa Tomei handed Su Chen a folded piece of paper. This is the contact information Natasha Romanoff left. Su Chen can call directly. Su Chen took the paper. I was quite surprised that this guy, Black Braised Egg, moved so fast. Just a few days after I told him about Hydra, they actually arrested a close relative. I don't know how to get rid of the Black Braised Eggs, Alexander Pierce, who is the Secretary General of the Security Council. However, even with his reminder, the attack on Hydra spies was sudden and effective. But that doesn't mean S.H.I.E.L.D. is completely successful. Su Chen knows that the five-headed snake is not just hiding among people like S.H.I.E.L.D. SOKOVIA's secret base is their base camp. If I guessed correctly, they have now completed the establishment. Next, Marissa Tomei talked to Su Chen about a lot of things these days. Tony Stark found traces of Obadiah. He seems to have defected to Kingpin. And Kingpin seems to have secretly found Connors the Lizard Man again. The other party really didn't say death. Kingpin found him, obviously planning something secretly. In response, Su Chen sneered. Obviously, this is to deal with him. Osborne Industries, which he had been secretly thinking about, was about to be swallowed up at the lowest cost. As a result, it was taken away by myself. With Jin Bin's character of retribution, he will definitely not give up. It's just that he is just a joker to Su Chen. Marissa Tomei watched Su Chen deep in thought without disturbing her, quietly wiping the poisonous pet's cage. Su Chen didn't rush to call S.H.I.E.L.D. Then he continued to ask, is there any more? And Mr. Osborne, if you come back, please come over. The first batch of medical potions have been produced, waiting for you to give them magical powers. Okay, I get it. Su Chen nodded and prepared to dial the phone number on the paper. One more thing, Gwen also came here. She said she hoped you would find her when you have time. Jessica suddenly came out of the kitchen, not as embarrassed as before. Looking at Su Chen's smile, I felt a little amused. Su Chen shrugged indifferently, quote closing square bracket question mark quote. After saying that, Jessica went inside and continued cooking. It can be seen that she has become obsessed with the taste of Oriental cuisine. But, what Su Chen didn't notice was the proud smile on Jessica's face after entering the kitchen. She didn't even know why she felt relieved after seeing Gwen leave like that. What did they say? Su Chen was obviously a little confused as to why Jessica was in a sudden good mood. Marissa Tomei also laughed, like a ripe red apple. Who knows, maybe it's the girl's jealousy. Su Chen shook his head, not thinking about all these things. He turned on his cell phone and dialed the number. The call was connected quickly. Mr. Su Chen, you are finally back. Do magicians really exist in this world? As soon as the other person answered the phone, he asked a question directly. Su Chen frowned slightly. This guy really had an occupational disease as an agent. He said coldly, you can check if there is a magician yourself. I don't have time to answer so many of your questions. I'm back now. Send me the Tesseract quickly. Remember, it will take me 5 days. Quote. Sorry, Mr. Su Chen, I was too unreasonable. I will send someone to deliver Tesseract to you right now. In addition, I would like to sincerely say thank you. Without your reminder, our S.H.I.E.L.D. would probably have become Snake and S.H.I.E.L.D. Nick Fury hurriedly apologized and thanked Su Chen for the previous reminder. Su Chen didn't say much. Even if he didn't say anything about it, Heludan would have noticed it sooner or later. It's just that it will take a few years. And then cause some innocent sacrifices. Although Su Chen doesn't like S.H.I.E.L.D., especially Nick Fury. However, they still have many functions. It's not yet time for Tony Stark to found his own Avengers. In the early stage, if S.H.I.E.L.D. has less interference from Hydra, it will have unexpected effects. Mr. Su Chen, I have one more request. If the conditions are feasible, we can pay any price. Oh, Su Chen was a little puzzled that this guy would actually ask for help. This is somewhat unexpected. Tell me. When Nick Fury saw that there was room for discussion, his one eye immediately lit up. So, he told Su Chen about their S.H.I.E.L.D. situation in the next few days. After Su Chen said that S.H.I.E.L.D. was infiltrated by Hydra, Nick Fury sent his men to take action secretly. Soon, a large number of suspicious persons were discovered in S.H.I.E.L.D. that were not discovered at first. Until it was discovered that Alexander Pierce was also a suspicious person. Then, Nick Fury suddenly felt that there was something they had not paid attention to. Even Hydra, which was eradicated in the last century, has revived, so other things are also possible. So, detection started in some places. As a result, I actually made an unexpected discovery. They found the wreckage of the plane in the glacier where Captain America fell. After in-depth exploration, Captain America was actually found frozen into ice in the ice. Yes, they actually found Captain America. Nick Fury immediately ordered Phil Coulson and others to bring back Captain America's body. He had some guess that Captain America was probably not dead. Because, he knows how powerful Captain America is. The other person was injected with super soldier serum. That is a body with a physique far beyond that of an ordinary human being. Listening to Black Braised Egg's narration, Su Chen was still a little surprised. I kind of wonder if I shouldn't be involved in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s mess. Captain America, which was supposed to be discovered around 2011, has now been discovered. Is this the butterfly effect? Then what? Su Chen remained calm. Black Braised Egg paused for 2 seconds and said, "We saved Captain America." Really, Su Chen was not surprised by this matter. As Tony said, Captain America was originally an old popsicle that had been frozen for nearly 70 years. The original body functions are not dead. The efficacy of the super soldier serum is very impressive. It is precisely for this reason that Hydra has not given up on developing super soldier serum in these years. However, after the death of Dr. Erkins, both S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra could only develop the serum using the backward method. Finally, Just came up with a similar Winter Soldier serum. In addition to Bucky, the Black Captain America, and the other 5 Winter Soldiers were successfully injected. Among them, there must be countless people who failed to get the injection. The chance of a successful injection is too small. Su Chen naturally disdains these things. The power obtained by relying on drugs is not correct after all. Then why did you call me? Su Chen knew that Nick Fury was definitely not simply telling himself these things. Sure enough, after hearing Su Chen's words, Nick Fury paused for 2 seconds and spoke slowly. After Captain America woke up, he learned that Agent Carter had never given up looking for him after he disappeared. However, on the way to find him again, he died unexpectedly. Captain America found it difficult to accept this, and after waking up, his consciousness fell into a deep sleep. To be precise, Captain America is now in a vegetative state, but it's even worse than a vegetative state. Because he doesn't even eat or drink. After listening to Nick Fury's narration, Su Chen suddenly understood. It turns out that the Carter agent in this world did not survive until Captain America woke up. But while searching for Captain America, he accidentally died. As a man who values friendship, it is normal to find it hard to accept. I hope you can take action and save him. We are willing to pay any price. Definitely if it's Tesseract, it can only last you a few days. Quote. Nick Fury knows that the only one who can save Captain America now is Su Chen. The other party has a magical healing ability, and they know it. Okay, ask your people to come pick me up, and I'll tell you what I want when I get there. Su Chen did not refuse because he did have something he wanted S.H.I.E.L.D. to do. Soon, Jessica had finished cooking. Meals for 20 people were placed on the dining table. The appearance of the dishes and the aroma are no less than those of a 5-star hotel. Su Chen took a bite of the braised pork, and it was good. It was actually better than what she cooked. Jessica, you have made great progress these days. Su Chen glanced at Jessica with some surprise. That's definitely. Jessica and Marissa Tomei sat on either side of the table. Marissa Tomei raised the corners of her mouth and said, she has been practicing her cooking skills these days. Say you only like to eat your food, and even use your own super ability to keep practicing. Super ability, Jessica, do you still have the ability of perception? Su Chen looked at Jessica. Jessica nodded proudly and replied. Definitely, I still have a lot of super abilities that I haven't developed yet, and perception is just one of them. Knew it. Su Chen glanced at the scorpion lying beside Jessica's table, eating the meaty meat that Jessica specially made. These poisonous pets rewarded by the system will really bring about some changes in people. First, Tony was bitten by the poisonous mosquito. After being revived by himself, he gained a physique equivalent to Captain America. Then, there's Gwen, although she was bitten directly by the spider from Osborne Industries. However, the spider called Wawa bit that spider. The opponent's venom must have entered Gwen's body along the Osborne Industries spider. In this way, Gwen also awakened a different ability from the original one. Not only can it be released like the original Spider-Man, but the cobweb can be released from the wrist. It also has faster speed, physical strength, perception, and can even release poison. Now, Jessica has also changed. Zinbao Girl's perception is actually so terrifying. Using his perception, he became a great chef in just a few days. This made Su Chen feel that Jessica would learn anything very quickly. Surprised, but the speed of cooking still cannot be stopped. Marissa Tomei apparently saw Su Chen eating for the first time. She couldn't help but widen her beautiful eyes. Leave him alone, that's what he is. Jessica was already used to it. Seeing Su Chen eating so deliciously, I couldn't help but feel a little proud. Gwen must not be able to cook Eastern Chinese cuisine well. She has already won on this point. Why do I always compare myself to Gwen? Jessica's face couldn't help but blush. His eyes secretly looked at Su Chen a few times. Naturally, Su Chen, who was focused on cooking, did not see this scene. Marissa Tomei noticed it, and couldn't help but sigh in her heart when she saw Jessica's appearance. It's great to be young. You can make some changes for the people you like. After all, I am already 30, and I want to pursue love like girls like Jessica and others. There is really no chance. He also glanced at Su Chen secretly. The heart also beat violently several times. If I were a few years younger, I would pursue Chen no matter what. Thinking about how I had spent so many years taking care of my nephew, Peter Parker, I had never even experienced the taste of a man. I felt somewhat unwilling to do so. However, now she has nothing missing. She has an astronomical salary from Su Chen. She didn't want so much money before, but Jessica told her. Su Chen's character is like this. If you don't accept the money, then, Su Chen will not treat you as one of his own in the future. Besides, Su Chen is not short of money either. I don't know why, after saying that I won't regard her as one of my own. He actually made a decision that was inconsistent with his own views and personality and accepted the money. Today, she saw the way Jessica looked at Su Chen. There was actually a slight feeling of envy in my heart. Let her vaguely know why she did this. Didi, just when Su Chen was about to finish his meal for 20 people. An extended business sedan parked outside the store, and the door opened. Then I saw the face wearing sunglasses in the driving position. None other than Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff. Even so, Su Chen continued to cook without any delay. Jessica and Marissa Tomei looked at each other, ignored it, and ate their food. Seeing the three of them enjoying themselves, Natasha Romanoff couldn't help but feel a little annoyed. Opening the car door, a slender jade leg stepped on the ground. Unexpectedly, Natasha Romanoff actually wore a slit-style hip skirt. Her toned and graceful figure was fully exposed. However, Su Chen just glanced at it and continued to cook. He doesn't like female agents or anything like that. For you. Walking into the store with long legs, he handed a black box to Su Chen. Su Chen had just finished the last bite of the chicken drumstick at this time. The result was a black box, opened casually. A big cube with a blue palm appeared in front of everyone. Is this the Tesseract? I heard Su Chen talking to Nick Fury on the phone before, and Jessica immediately remembered it. Su Chen nodded. Then, in the surprised eyes of the three women, the Tesseract just disappeared into Su Chen's hands. Let's go, don't waste time. I have to go to the company to synthesize the potion. Norman Osborn has developed the first medical agents. All he had to do was attach the power of the medical GU to it. Good. Natasha Romanoff didn't say much and walked out of the store. I'm going to S.H.I.E.L.D. You guys have to guard the store. If anyone is sneaky or has bad intentions, just kill them. After explaining, the next sentence was for Jessica. Now Jessica is no longer afraid of killing. Moreover, Su Chen told her that some people are just beasts in human skin. Even worse than a beast. She would never care about such a guy. After sitting in the passenger seat, Natasha Romanoff stepped on the accelerator and drove away. Hell's Kitchen, some seedy bar. Wow. Suddenly, a strong blood energy surged into the sky. A large area of blood mist filled the surrounding area of 100 meters. When pedestrians on the road saw this scene, they were so frightened that they ran away like crazy. What monster is about to appear again? With the sound of an explosion, the bar that was originally in ruins was completely reduced to flat ground. Ha 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 ha, ancestor, I have finally finished my retreat. I have broken through to the realm of Marquis. Zillafu, where are you? Why don't you come and say hello to my old team? Accompanied by this exchange of sounds like a duck, a man in a blood robe. A pale, corpse-like figure slowly emerged from the blood mist. Sillifer, where have you been? Why don't you come out to me, ancestor? When the purebred vampire saw no one responded, he yelled angrily. Your descendants are dead. They were killed by a man named Su Chen. At this time, a person walked slowly in front of him. This person wore gold-rimmed glasses and had a professional smile on his face. You are just a bloodthirsty person, but you are so arrogant. Although my descendants are not very good. But it is definitely not something that mere blood food can resist. Who are you? Tell me everything quickly. The purebred vampire seemed to flash in front of the man with gold-rimmed glasses. Only then did the man with glasses see the other person's face clearly. He was not very old, he looked in his 40s, and the years seemed to have left no wrinkles on his face. But the man with gold-rimmed glasses knew that this guy was at least 500 years old. I can tell you who killed your descendants, but are you interested in cooperating with us? The vampire marquis was stunned. Cooperation. Soon. Su Chen and Natasha Romanoff arrived at the S.H.I.E.L.D. branch in New York. Like the headquarters in Washington, this branch is also a three-winged building. Outside the gate, there were already several figures waiting there. The leader is none other than Nick Fury. The people behind him are Phil Coulson, Maria Hill, and Hawkeye. What also surprised Su Chen was that there was a woman with an oriental face. This woman has an ordinary appearance, but she has a hint of heroism. Although it was the first time they met, Su Chen recognized each other at first sight. Melinda May. Mr. Su Chen, I'm glad you came to my S.H.I.E.L.D. The one-eyed black braised egg Nick Fury reaches out his hand towards. Su Chen waved his hand and said, no need, I'm not working for you for free. Nick Fury's palms froze in midair, and his face looked a little embarrassed. The Phil Coulson agent on the side saw his dilemma and hurriedly spoke to smooth things over. Welcome Mr. Su Chen to our S.H.I.E.L.D. Director, didn't you say you would personally introduce S.H.I.E.L.D. to Su Chen? After saying that, he naturally pulled Nick Fury's palm back, and then made a gesture of invitation to Su Now. Su Chen nodded and walked towards the door. Melinda May on the side was also a little surprised when she saw Su Chen's face. This was the first time she met Su Chen. She didn't expect that this person who the director paid high attention to was actually so young. After seeing Su Chen looking at himself similarly, he said, I am Melinda May, and my ancestral home is also China. Hello. Su Chen just nodded slightly. Melinda May has lived in S.H.I.E.L.D. since she was a child. It can be said that she was born to be an agent. In the comics, she also has her own nickname, called Iron Cavalry. Walking into the main door of the building, you can see many staff members coming and going in the hall. Some were wearing suits, some were wearing white coats, and there were also armed men wearing camouflage uniforms and body armor. There is a clear division of labor here, and everyone performs his or her duties. Quote. Captain America is on the 15th floor upstairs. This is the elevator. Nick Fury recovered from his embarrassment and walked beside Su Chen to lead the way. At the moment, many staff members in S.H.I.E.L.D. were surprised to see this scene. What kind of identity does this young man have that can make the director be so polite? Natasha Romanoff and others followed behind and entered the elevator. In the elevator, no one spoke, and the atmosphere seemed a bit quiet. Finally, the elevator reached the 15th floor, and the quiet atmosphere finally ended. After walking out of the elevator, Nick Fury took Su Chen to a room. With a little care, the fingerprint authentication was successful. The door opens, revealing a very luxurious room. The decoration inside is similar to that of a 5-star hotel, Zhao Li's. Su Chen couldn't help but sigh, how corrupt. After entering the room, I saw a muscular white man sitting motionless on the sofa. If you look closely, you will find that his eyes are empty and lifeless. Since rescuing him, learning about Peggy Carter's death has become like this. Nick Fury spoke from the side. Mr. Su Chen, can you really rescue the captain? Phil Coulson behind him also quickly asked, full of nervousness. Su Chen looked at the other person and knew that he liked the United States captain very much. The judgment of a die-hard fan. Then he looked at Natasha Romanoff and others who also looked puzzled. Speaking to Nick Fury, he said, his consciousness should have entered a fantasy world. It is not appropriate to describe him as a vegetative state. As long as he can willingly come out of that world, it will turn back to normal. Then, what to do? Nick Fury was obviously anxious. Seeing the other party's appearance, Su Chen did not reveal his thoughts and said, I can forcefully bring his consciousness back, but if that happens, he will become like this soon. After hearing Su Chen's words, Nick Fury and everyone's expressions changed. Is there no way Su Chen can save the captain? At this time, a sense of powerlessness hit all the agents. It seems that it is better not to save Captain America than to save him. At least, you don't have to experience the disappointment of looking at a treasure house that cannot be used. However, Su Chen's words changed again, but there is another way. What way? Hearing this, Nick Fury almost stared out his one eye. Su Chen looked at Captain America with empty eyes and said, then let him go back to the past and try to change everything. How is this possible? Not only Nick Fury, but even Natasha Romanoff didn't believe it. Does this allow Captain America to travel through time and space? How is this possible? How is it impossible? Su Chen stretched out his palm and said, wake up, Captain America, and meet your lover. In the astonished gazes of many agents, a green light appeared on Su Chen's palm. Captain America's body actually disappeared out of thin air. At the moment when Captain America's body was about to disappear, they discovered that Captain America's eyes seemed to have become clear. He will be back in a while, don't worry. Seeing Captain America as a child, Nick Fury and others were anxious, and Su Chen was sitting on the sofa opposite Captain America. Everyone looked at each other in disbelief. Finally, Nick Fury swallowed and tried to ask, Mr. Su Chen, Captain. Of course I went there. Su Chen picked up the orange on the table and peeled it. How can this be? Can you make someone travel through time? It can't be too far away, it can only be 5 years at most. Peggy Carter died unexpectedly 50 years ago. All we can say is that Captain America is very lucky. Quote. Su Chen broke open the orange segment and stuffed it into her mouth. The dark color was still as light as water. Although due to my own level, I am unable to fully utilize the abilities I need for my time. However, it is possible to send someone through time. However, it can only be within the scope of 50 years. Moreover, it can only be sent to the past, not the future. Let Captain America go to the past, meet his lover, and even change the other person's destiny. Although this will lead to time branching, it will be targeted by the Time Administration. However, Su Chen is not afraid of those guys. Whether it's the Remnant, Kong the Conqueror, or a variant of Kong. Su Chen was just thinking about meeting this guy for a while. Just before everyone has recovered from the incident of Captain America traveling to the past. Captain America's figure has actually resurfaced. Team leader, Nick Fury and his agents were pleasantly surprised when Captain America returned. Captain America is not lost, he is really back. However, looking at the opponent, He is wearing an exclusive battle suit and has an exclusive Captain America vibranium shield on his right arm. Everyone couldn't help but feel a little suspicious. Is this still the same Captain America? Just now Captain America was only wearing ordinary pants and a t-shirt. Why did it become like this when you came back? Are you, Nick? I'm back. After taking a look at the current environment, Captain America was pleasantly surprised. Captain, are you okay? Nick Fury looked at Captain America with some uncertainty. The agents on the side were equally excited, especially Phil Coulson, who even wiped away tears. As a big fan, he is undoubtedly even more excited. Captain America stood up, looked at Nick Fury and nodded. That's right, I'm fine, I'm no longer immersed in the past. Then, he looked at Su Chen, his eyes becoming clearer and clearer. Thank you, sir, for sending me there and meeting Carter. Just before Captain America was sent to the past by Su Chen, he forcibly pulled the other party's consciousness back. Then, Captain America saw Su Chen's face just before leaving. When I opened my eyes, I was in the past. Met Carter. He knew that he was the young man who passed away in a flash and saved him. Su Chen nodded and said with a smile, "Congratulations, Captain, for being able to let go of the past. Have you rescued Carter, Bay?" As soon as Su Chen's question came up, Nick Fury and others hurriedly flipped the electronic watches on their wrists. Obviously looking for something. Hearing Su Chen's question, Captain America's face gradually became sad, and then he shook his head. I didn't save her. When I woke up, I found that I was back 20 years after the plane crash. Although I am surprised, I know that you helped me and helped me go back to the past. Having said this, Captain America bowed to Su Chen sincerely. Then he continued, There, I was not frozen, but survived as a vegetative state. For the past 20 years, Peggy has been taking care of me. When I wake up, I will still inherit the title of Captain America. I'm still working on various missions, and I'm married to Paige, and we're very happy. However, during a mission, we were suddenly attacked, and Peggy helped me block the bullet. She still died. A trace of red blood appeared on Captain America's eyes, which was very sad. However, it did not become like a vegetative state again like before. At this time, Nick Fury and others no longer control electronic watches. Apparently, they also found out that Peggy Carter's death fate had not been changed. So, what do you think? Su Chen was somewhat surprised that Petting Carter was still dead. That means that even if you travel to the past, you still can't change the other person's fate. This may be the so-called time node. But although Captain America was still sad, he was not as depressed as before. This made Su Chen a little curious. Peggy told me before she died, although I don't know why. He always felt that he was not the Steve Rogers he knew. It's like we've been separated by a long time, not 20 years. I was a little surprised. I didn't expect Paige to feel it. She told me not to live in the past, but to look forward. Besides, I can go back to the past, so why can't she be resurrected? Speaking of this, Captain America looked at Su Chen with a hint of pleading in his eyes. Su Chen, Nick Fury and others, after listening to Captain America's narration, realized why the other party wanted to take action. It seems that the saying is still the same, to untie the bell, you must tie the bell. A few words from Peggy Carter made Captain America look away from all this. Definitely, there's another thing that gives Captain America hope. Everyone looked at Su Chen. Apparently, Peggy Carter's ability Nick Fury is also approved. Since the creation of S.H.I.E.L.D., apart from Nick Fury himself, Peggy Carter is one of the few level 9 agents. That is, the agent with the highest authority. It can be seen from this that the other party is excellent. He would naturally be willing to have one more talent. Su Chen shook his head and said, I do have the ability to control time. However, I can't put time on one person yet, but %. The first half of Su Chen's words dropped the hopes that Captain America, Nick Fury and others had just raised. However, when they saw Su Chen change the subject, they looked at Su Chen with wide eyes again. Captain America was originally planning to give up, but after hearing Su Chen's no, his eyes lit up again. He hurriedly said, Sir, if there is any other way, please tell me. No matter what the cost, I'm willing to do it. Similarly, Nick Fury and others are also keeping a close eye on Su Chen. Su Chen thought for 2 seconds and then said, "The mysteries in this world are far beyond your imagination. Black braised egg, you also know that I went to the place where the magician is 2 days ago. There are gods and demons in this world. Time in front of them is just dust that can be fiddled with. Definitely, it is basically impossible to get them to take action. But there must be some magical things that change time." Su Chen did not continue speaking. He felt that he had said enough. He doesn't like spoilers to be too clear, because then it would be meaningless. God, demon, something magical. When these words appear in everyone's ears, they will inevitably be a little frightened. How dangerous is the world they live in? Time is like dust in the hands of gods and demons. What about them? They live in dust. In the eyes of gods and demons, it is worse than dust. Okay, Black Braised Egg, I have rescued Captain America, it's time for you to fulfill my request. Su Chen didn't want to waste time and interrupted several people's thoughts. Also, just call me Su Chen, no need to use honorifics. Sir, he doesn't like others to call him that. It just feels like I'm very old. Anyway, as long as you are always strong, no one will dare to disrespect you. It's the same with or without honorifics. Okay, then I'll make my own decision and call you Su Chenchi. Captain America is informal and full of smiles. Obviously, Su Chen's words also shocked him. However, after knowing that resurrecting Paige was no longer a fantasy, I felt very good. Okay, whatever you want, as long as our shield can do it, I will agree to it. Nick Fury naturally doesn't dare to default on his debt. This was promised to Su Chen before. Su Chen stretched out a finger and said, "First, I'm going to do the surgery." No problem. Nick Fury agreed without any hesitation. In his opinion, things that can be solved with money are the simplest things. This is what they, shield, lack most. Even if the other party directly asks for 1 billion. Secondly, I want you to shield something. What? Obelisk. Nick Fury and all the agents couldn't help but widen their eyes. Only Captain America doesn't know what this obelisk is. Finally, Phil Coulson asked with some disbelief, "Mr. Su Chen, do you really want the obelisk?" "That's right, but that thing will turn into stone if anyone touches it." Natasha Romanoff's eyes flashed slightly and she looked at Su Chen with a complicated expression. "I know, but I need this." Su Chen didn't, but he didn't care at all. "Okay, I'll give it to you later." Seeing Su Chen's persistence, Nick Fury nodded. This thing was discovered by them a long time ago. However, ordinary people will turn into stone statues as soon as they touch that thing. For this reason, they also sacrificed many members. Then, use your information department to help me find a few people. On the way to Osborne Industrial, Su Feng played with the obelisk in her hand. Natasha Romanoff's eyelids kept twitching as she watched. I'm afraid that this thing will suddenly turn Su Chen into a stone statue, and even implicate herself. Su Chen grinned, "You seem to have become less courageous." Natasha Romanoff rolled her eyes at Su Chen angrily, "That thing is very dangerous, you'd better be careful." Su Chen chuckled, and his consciousness sank into the shopping mall space. I saw, in the middle of the wide first floor, Tesseract floating in the air. A strange force covered it, as if it was analyzing something. Next to it, a small thing gradually took shape. This is a new GU, probably it should be called Space GU. This GU worm should also be a growth-type GU worm. The system also gives 5 days. 5 days later, the Space GU was successfully recreated. Su Chen also included the obelisk in the mall space. Then, he looked at the shelves of items, searching for them, and his eyes lit up slightly. 4 jars of wine of different colors were placed on it. The 4 characters, sour, sweet, bitter and spicy, are written on the jar. Su Chen said, "System, I want to buy 2 jars of spicy wine." Ding, the purchase was successful and the host has been deducted $1 billion. 2 jars of red wine flew off the shelves. The vacant positions on the shelves were immediately filled. Now, all 4 flavors of wine are available, and the next step is to practice the 4-flavor wine bug together. The benefits of wine bugs laid a good foundation for Su Chen in the stage of GU Master. Moreover, his energy is very pure, and the skills he releases are almost substantial. The combined training of the 4-flavor wine bug will allow Su Chen to reach the ultimate level of energy quality in the King of GU stage. When the time comes, facing those dimensions Mephisto, the ancient gods, Su Chen can also crush them with pure energy. At higher levels, the quality of energy is important. Why do the deity groups all appear together, but have different strengths and weaknesses? Obviously, the energy quality of some groups of gods is not high, and the sequence is lower than that of other groups of gods. In the dimension Mephisto, the most powerful one, the master of the Crimson Universe, Cytoric 0. Its power can be said to be one of the highest levels in Marvel. Its strongest period far exceeds the multi-universe level, and it can easily kill the living tribunal in an instant. Even though it was greatly weakened later, it was still stronger than other Mephistos. This is the difference caused by power levels. Therefore, the wine bug is the basic bug under soda in the 4-flavored wine. The obelisk disappeared into Su Chen's hands, and Natasha Romanoff was not too surprised. Anyway, I've even seen Su Chen send people through time and space. Is there anything more surprising? Soon, the business sedan was at the Osborne Industrial Production Site. This is a 3-story factory area, and several surrounding buildings are also industrial buildings. The area is approximately tens of thousands of square meters. Su Chen now knows how much of a bargain he got by buying it for more than 20 billion. I also have to lament the ability of this guy Norman Osborn. He actually convinced those shareholders to sell their shares. No wonder Kingpin has long been eyeing this piece of fat. A factory like this is so valuable. Su Chen looked at Natasha Romanoff, who was following her, and asked in confusion, "Aren't you going back?" "We, S.H.I.E.L.D., have decided that as your first customer, we will purchase 1,000 Osborne Industries medical pills." Natasha Romanoff raised her chin, feeling as if the customer was God. However, Su Chen was too lazy to talk to her and said, "Let's talk about it later." He didn't know how many Norman Osborn had produced. "Boss, Dow is finally back." At the moment, Norman Osborn and his son Harry Osborn were waiting outside the building. In addition, there is also a young boy who looks a little nervous. Chapter 91. At the moment, the other party looked at Su Chen somewhat cautiously. "It seems that I am not good at expressing myself. Hello, Mr. Su Chen, thank you for saving me, for helping my family, and for helping Aunt May." This boy was Peter Parker, who was supposed to be Spider-Man, but turned into a spider monster. Su Chen waved his hand and said, "You don't have to be so polite. I saved you because I thought you were not a bad person. I'm only 2 years older than you, so you can just call me Brother Su Chen." "Oh, okay, then I will call you Brother Su Chen from now on, that." Peter Parker breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that Su Chen was not as cold as expected. But halfway through the words, "I didn't know how to open my mouth." Su Chen saw his thoughts and walked towards the factory. "Don't worry, your matter will be completely suppressed soon. Your Aunt May works in my store, and you can go to Hell's Kitchen to visit her anytime." "Is it really? That's great. Thank you, Brother Su Chen." After listening to Su Chen's words, Peter Parker looked surprised. Regardless of the fact that he and Aunt May will soon be able to live normally. Even Aunt May has a job, which makes him sleep well. Su Chen was walking at the front and suddenly wondered if it was time to upgrade the system for her store. "It would be great if you could upgrade me to level 2. You can't always sleep on the sofa." Although Tony Stark and Norman Osborn both gave him a villa. But such a big house feels a bit empty if you live alone. Your own shop is your base. By the way, I'll see if it's available in the system store later. For the price of a house, the system shouldn't be that ridiculously rich. Soon, under the guidance of Osborn and his son, they arrived at the innermost part of the pharmacy factory. At the moment, the production line has stopped working and all the workers have left. Su Chen knew that this was done intentionally by the Osborns. "We haven't gotten to the Battle of New York yet, because some people haven't seen super ability. So it's better to be as low-key as possible." Looking at the dark gray potion, it was packed in transparent glass bottles. On the outside of the glass bottle, there is simply a logo, as well as the Chinese characters, "Sus Medical Potion," and a string of English words below. The packaging is in line with Su Chen's aesthetics. Osborne Industries has been acquired by Su Chen, and the name has naturally been changed to Sus Industries. But it hasn't been announced to the outside world yet. Boss, the first batch has been produced according to your request, a total of 2,000 bottles. Norman Osborn pointed to the many potions and explained. Su Chen nodded and asked, how is the publicity going? Don't worry, boss, we have contacted all the media and have publicized the potion. Tony Stark also took the initiative to help promote it, saying that he drank our potion and came back to life. This has caused many wealthy people in the upper class to book in advance. Oh, Tony. Su Chen didn't expect that Tony Stark would actually be willing to lower his face and personally help promote his products. This was unexpected. In Su Chen's view, Tony, a noble guy, just wants to spend money to get media to publicize his business. As a result, he actually used his own affairs to promote it. Aren't you afraid of being known? He is not good at drinking this potion at all. No matter what, this guy doesn't care. Moreover, this potion was originally made possible by the energy of his medical GU. Tony was also saved by medical magic. There is nothing wrong with what he said. Su Chen didn't waste any more time, and directly mobilized the medical surplus in front of everyone. White light emitted from the hand, shrouded in the unsealed potion. Osborn and his son, Natasha Romanoff, have all seen Su Chen perform. Seeing that Su Chen can actually use it on such a large scale, although still surprised, but at least I was mentally prepared. But this was the first time I saw Peter, and his glasses were so wide-eyed. This is amazing. Is this how you were saved by Brother Su Chen? Soon, 3 minutes passed, and Su Chen slowly regained his medical light. Look at those potions again. Although they are still gray, crystal light flashes from time to time inside. It looks like there are a lot of little sequins inside. The light in his hand disappeared and he said, "Let the workers block it." Yes, boss. Soon, Norman Osborn hurried to call a group of workers. The energy in this potion can be stored for 1 year. After a year, it will automatically dissipate and eventually turn into ordinary Chinese medicine. Definitely, this first batch of potions, thanks to Tony's publicity, has attracted the attention of many people in high society. Of these 2,000 bottles, 7 or 8 have already gone out. We shield order 1,000 bottles. Transfer now. Natasha Romanoff's beautiful eyes sparkle with desire. Su Chen shook his head decisively and said, "No, the quantity of potions this time is not large, and they have to be used for publicity, so I can only give you 100 bottles." All right. Seeing Su Chen's decisive attitude, Natasha Romanoff had to give up her plan to buy 1,000 bottles. Although these medicines can only restore some skin injuries and eliminate some hidden diseases of the body. But the price is still set at 100,000 yuan. After all, this is a medicine that can completely restore health to people who were originally in poor health. 100,000 is already the lowest price. If you buy 100 bottles of Shield at once, that's 10 million. All I can say is that Shield is really wealthy. Soon, many workers in white coats entered the factory. I was surprised to see that the potion actually shone with some light. However, seal the bottle quickly. During this period, the Osborns took Su Chen to a villa in the factory. This is specially built for bosses. Boss, Dao is back. After entering the villa, I saw an old butler in a white chef uniform. Have you learned Oriental cuisine? Su Chen asked curiously. No, I'm just learning a little bit. The master has found some Oriental chefs. You are here, let's start dinner now. The old housekeeper waved his hand. Then some young girls in Cheongsam came out of the kitchen carrying different dishes. These young girls are actually from the Eastern Celestial Dynasty. Everyone is slim and has a beautiful face. The number is as many as 20 people. Obviously, these girls were carefully selected by the Osborns. Many girls' beautiful eyes lit up after seeing Su Chen. Obviously, they didn't expect that the boss they wanted to serve would be so young and handsome. Norman Osborn said into Su Chen's ear, "Boss, these are models or flight attendants selected by your country." At this point, he deliberately lowered his voice and said, "I've had it checked by a specialized female doctor, and they are all perfect." Well, at the moment, Natasha Romanoff on the side looked at her with the same playful look. This guy. Su Chen looked at Norman Osborn. This guy had a, "Boss, I understand you," look in his eyes, and I wanted to punch him in the face. Soon, Oriental dishes and staple food for more than 30 people were placed on the rectangular dining table. A group of girls are standing by. Su Chen will undoubtedly take the main seat. You didn't even call me for dinner. Just when Su Chen was about to ask everyone to use their chopsticks, a few words of praise came to an end. Then, everyone saw Tony Stark flying into the villa. The mecha on his body looks much simpler than before, and the fish scale carapace only covers part of it. After entering the room, I patted it casually, and the mecha immediately shape-shifted and finally turned into a suitcase. Mark 5. Su Chen didn't expect that this guy would upgrade his mecha to such an extent so quickly. Regardless of whether Norman Osborn wanted to or not, he directly sat in the seat closest to Su Chen. You're rude, Tony Stark. What the hell are you doing here? Seeing Tony Stark stealing his position, Norman Osborn looked a little unhappy. I'm your big customer, and I'm here to buy the medicine pavilion. Tony Stark completely ignored the former's appearance, looked at Su Chen and said, I want 1,000. Su Chen waved his hand and motioned for everyone to eat. Pick up a smoked chicken and gnaw on it. Then he rolled his eyes at Tony Stark and said, You are all rich, buy 1,000 of them at once. Even if I can't use it all, I can still leave it to my son or grandson. Tony Stark also ate without politeness. This 17th batch only has a total of 2,000 pieces. I will give you 100 pieces at most. Besides, this potion can only retain its medicinal properties for 1 year, so if you buy so much, aren't you afraid of losing money? Su Chen knows that Tony Stark has turned to new energy sources. It won't be long before Stark Industries is able to make a comeback. Even better than before, but as a friend, Su Chen still didn't want him to waste money. You don't have to worry about this. I have my own uses. I spent so much money, how could I let it go to waste? What's more, you know if I, Stark, can develop technology to preserve potions. Tony Stark looks like he doesn't have to worry about you. This made Norman Osborn, who was sitting opposite him, furious and couldn't help but taunted. Stark, you are so awesome, have you found the guy who escaped from prison? How many days has it been? These words seemed to hit Tony Stark's pain point, and he almost spit out a mouthful of red wine. What do you know? I already know my whereabouts, but I have been upgrading my armor these days and have no time to take action. Really? Why do I think you found out that Kingpin also found other helpers? You are not sure of defeating the opponent on your own, so that's why you haven't taken action. Norman Osborn completely saw through Tony Stark's pretense and exposed it without any hesitation. This made Tony Stark immediately furious. Dour. I'm not sure. Haha, Osborn, why don't we have a fight first and put on that big goblin suit of yours? Okay, don't think that your Mark armor will be upgraded. My green goblin suit has also been upgraded. Let's see which one of us has stronger technology. As he spoke, Norman Osborn was about to press a remote control in his hand. Apparently the upgraded green goblin suit can be summoned remotely. Okay, tell us about the Kingpin. Su Chen interrupted these two guys. He still doesn't know what they just said about Jin Bin. The Kingpin united them with the Stark Industries traitor Obadiah. And the lizard man you defeated that day, and that vampire count. No, it should be called the Vampire Marquis now. We don't know if there are others. Anyway, these people are here to deal with you. Before Tony and Stark could speak, Natasha Romanoff finished speaking. This made Tony and Tony, who were about to speak, feel like they were being squeezed back by shit. Hey, you guy actually forced yourself on me. This is the first time I've been robbed of my words. Yes, it's absolutely disgusting. It's up to us to talk about this matter. Bah, no, it's up to me and my boss to report it. What are you talking about? I should be allowed to say it. What, if you don't accept it, let's have a fight. I'm afraid you won't make it. Seeing the two business geniuses arguing like children, Su Chen couldn't help but slap the table. The two of them stopped now. He looked at Natasha Romanoff and said, Why didn't you tell me before? I don't mean to blame Natasha Romanoff for not telling him the information and catching him off guard. Su Chen doesn't take these people seriously. I just feel like this woman Natasha Romanoff doesn't look like a good person. You actually didn't report it when you knew it. Who are you, my man? Obviously not, why should I tell you? Natasha Romanoff glanced at the beautiful girls standing in a row and raised her eyebrows. Why didn't Nick Fury tell me? Su Chen thought about how the black braised egg at S.H.I.E.L.D. not long ago didn't even mention a word about this matter. I actually helped him a lot. Natasha Romanoff opened her bright red lips and ate a piece of beef brisket. Director, S.H.I.E.L.D. has recently been dealing with the bugs, and he seems to have noticed it. I was the one who discovered this, and I haven't reported it to him yet. Su Chen remained silent. This woman obviously did this on purpose. However, Yin Chen was a little surprised. Kingpin actually united so many people and even found the vampire count. He had thought that the purebred vampire was lying to him. There was no such thing as a vampire count. Or that guy is already dead. As a result, it actually happened. I just didn't expect that this guy could break through his own realm in such a world where the energy of heaven and earth is so thin. After eating the potions over there were all packaged. Pack 100 potions each for Tony Stark and Natasha Romanoff. The rest were sent everywhere. At the moment, the major media have gone crazy with the publicity about Osborne Industrial Pharmacy. What? Resurrection medicine. Magic powerful pill. Elixir from the East. Titles like this are everywhere in news, radio, newspapers, and magazines. Although the price was high, it still caused a great sensation. Many wealthy people found that their bodies actually recovered after using it. They all confirmed it on the screen. Now, those exaggerated titles are completely confirmed. In a few days, the 2,000 medicines were almost sold out. The emergence of this medicine has completely subverted the medical market. Many major pharmaceutical manufacturers want to spend a lot of money to buy it, but they can only buy one. This is the rule given by Su Chen. Without his permission, don't sell more than one. One person can only buy one, and the other person's identity information must be checked. If you are a very sinful person, it is naturally impossible for you to successfully purchase it. In special cases like Tony Stark and S.H.I.E.L.D., Su Chen's approval is required. As a result, the production of the second batch of pharmaceuticals has also started. This time, the production will be sold all over the world. For some countries, Su Chen also told Osborne to change the price appropriately. For example, Sakura, Banksy, Asan, etc., the daily bottle costs 1 million. But Dongfang Tianchao only sells rice for 1,000 yuan. This price can be said to be like Chinese cabbage. Su Chen, something happened with Tony Stark. On this day, Yinshin was sleeping soundly in the bedroom on the second floor of the upgraded shop. Then I heard Jessica's anxious call. Su Chen opened her glasses and was slightly surprised. Who dared to attack Tony? Obadiah on Kingpin's side can't wait. In Tony Stark's beach house. A big man with a furry bear in a simple suit, constantly waving the energy whip in his hand and destroying everywhere. Buzz buzz. This allowed the defense system built by Tony Stark to block itself, erecting an energy shield around the villa. Stark, you guy, get out of here and die. Seeing that he could not destroy the energy light, the man roared and cursed inside. In the underground laboratory of the villa. Sir, the Mark 6 test has been completed and there are no hidden dangers. Do you want to wear it? Wear it. Looking at the guy on the screen who was constantly cursing outside, Tony Stark looked extremely ugly. Where did this guy come from? When have I ever provoked such a person? Tony Stark naturally doesn't know that this is the seed planted by his father, Howard Stark. Tony, will you be okay? Little Pepper on the side, looking at Tony wearing the Mark armor, was a little worried. Tony Stark walked over, kissed Pepper's forehead, and said, "Don't worry, with his copycat suit, he is definitely no match for me." After thinking about it, he told Pepper, "Take out a medical potion." After saying that, he flew out along the underground parking garage. When Su Chen arrived at Tony Stark's Seaview Villa, he saw the big man lying in the pit. And Tony Stark, whose Mark mecha was only slightly damaged, was sitting on the ground breathing heavily. It's just such a knockoff, and you've already given up all your efforts. Looking at the Mark armor that shouldn't have been damaged at all, Su Chen couldn't help but curl her lips. This guy's father is my old man's former colleague. I once developed the arc reactor with the old man. He said my father stole his father's work. Tony Stark sat on the ground with his visor lifted, looking a little suspicious. Looking at the other person, he seemed to hear that the father whom he admired most in his heart. He turned out to be a thief who stole other people's research results, and his faith collapsed. Su Chen smiled and said, "Don't worry, your old man is not a thief. Back then, his father did help your old man develop the arc reactor technology. However, the emergence of this technology still relies on your father's genius. If I have to say it, his father is the thief. His father wants to smuggle this technology overseas. But he was discovered by your old man, and then he was captured and exiled, and then ran back to Mao Shang. Is this true?" After hearing Su Chen's narration, Tony Stark's originally somewhat gloomy eyes suddenly lit up. He already believed what Su Chen said. After all, Su Chen can predict the future. Fortunately, my old man is still the stubborn, workaholic, but I have to admit, he is very talented. Although she was a little worse than him, she didn't do anything disgusting after all. Ahem. At this moment, the unconscious man in the pit suddenly woke up. His glasses turned red and he roared at Su Chen, "You're talking nonsense. It's obvious that the Stark family stole my father's technology. They're the thieves. Their whole family is thieves. Humph, the only reason your father tells you this is because he can't afford to lose. Obviously I am just a technical participant, but I, hypnotic ability, think that I am the developer of this technology." He just gave himself hypnotic ability and succeeded. Such a person cannot afford to lose. Su Chen looked coldly at Ivan Vanke, also known as Whip Rope, in the pit. Tony Stark controlled the mecha and stood up, feeling very good. Regardless of the whipping that was still hoarse, he said, "You helped me again, I have contacted the police, and then he will face a lifetime of imprisonment." Su Chen knows what this guy means. He told him that his father was right and he regained his faith. As for whether Whiplash will be rescued by Justin Hammer after being imprisoned, Su Chen doesn't care. A small villain can't run into big waves. Soon, the police arrived and took the whipcord away. Su Chen entered Tony Stark's underground research room at the strong request of him. "Hello Mr. Su Chen." Pepper Potts handed the prepared tea to Su Chen. Su Chen thanked him and took it. "Look around this underground research room. It's very spacious, covering several hundred square meters. There are also several supercars inside. And a red and gold antique car that is completely different from these sports cars." Seeing Su Chen looking at the classic car, Tony Stark explained. "This was the old man's favorite sports car during his lifetime. He bragged to me. Before I was married to my mother, I used this car to hook up with a lot of girls." Hearing this, Su Chen grinned. Sure enough, like father, like son. At this time, Tony Stark took out the arc reactor from the Mark V mecha. Then he took out the scrapped palladium element core inside, threw it away, replaced it with a new one and put it back in. Looking at the old and smoking core, Su Chen was also slightly surprised. With his own influence, although Tony Stark still became Iron Man, he was not bombed by the missile he developed. No need to make a big hole in the chest. There is no need to be tortured by palladium. However, Su Chen was still surprised when he saw the appearance of the palladium core. No wonder there is palladium poisoning. It would be strange if this thing is not poisoned when put into the body. Don't worry, this thing is just like this. Before I discover new elements, I can only make do with this." Tony Stark felt Su Chen's worry and explained with a smile. Then he looked at the mecha in the glass cabinet and said, "I'm going to give the Mark II to the military. Definitely, it's for Rhodes' sake. Just think about it. This is his own thing. Su Chen will not participate in opinions casually. Shall I take you to see the villa prepared for you? I paid a high price to hire the best chef in your kingdom. There are also girls from China, and definitely girls from other countries too. Osborne's 3 melons and 2 dates are simply not enough. What do you think? Come and have a look. Don't worry, I've also had it checked by a female doctor, and it's all true." Well, why is your money's desire to win so strange? As a Gu Dao person, how could his mind be disturbed by these things? Definitely have to check it out. Su Chen, do you have time? I want to talk to you. Just when Su Chen was about to go to the villa with Tony Stark to have a look, a figure in a black and white battle suit wearing a cobweb fell in front of them. "Ah, hello, Miss Ghost Spider-Man." Tony Stark also met Ghost Spider-Man for the first time, and he greeted him very familiarly. "Stark, I don't like you. Gwen, who was wearing a mask, turned her face to the side, making Tony Stark look confused. When did I provoke you? Su Chen was a little funny. When he arrived, Gwen had already arrived. Apparently he heard the news here and wanted to come over to help. Then Tony Stark was seen solving the whiplash himself. She obviously heard the conversation she had with Tony just now. He did not agree to Tony Stark's request to let Su Chen and Gwen stay here to talk. Su Chen ran on top of the high-rise buildings as fast as she could. He said that he never wanted to experience the feeling of being caught in a girl's arms and being carried around. Soon, the two came to the previous cafe again. After sitting down, Gwen said without any hesitation, "Do you know who I am?" "Have no idea. You lied. You clearly knew it." Well, Su Chen knows. Gwen has already guessed that Su Chen knows her identity. Then, I saw Gwen pull down the hood and then take off the mask. Short blonde hair, delicate face, fair skin. Gwen's appearance indeed fulfills all the fantasies of teenagers. Even Su Chen, who has been in contact with so many beauties, has bright eyes. Why pretend you don't know me? Seeing that Su Chen didn't look surprised at all, Gwen knew that Su Chen was indeed lying to him. Sure enough, this fool already knew that Ghost Spider-Man was Gwen Stacy. I'm afraid this fool recognized her the first time in the vampire's lair. I'm afraid you will be embarrassed if I say it. Su Chen touched his nose and said casually. Gwen obviously did not accept this statement, snorted and turned her head towards the window. I am. Although Su Chen has been born in 2 lifetimes, she has never been exposed to feelings. At this time, how do you comfort a girl when she is angry? Waiting online, it's quite urgent. At the moment, the atmosphere was so awkward. The beautiful waiter brought 2 cups of coffee and deliberately lowered her head when placing Su Chen's cup. Then, in a voice that only Su Chen could hear, he said, "Kiss her forehead." Seeing the beautiful waiter leaving with a smile on her face, Su Chen glanced at her in confusion. And the other party actually nodded to him. As a man, I actually lost the initiative. In that case, let's do it. So, Su Chen got up and came to Gwen's side. Gwen was also shocked by Su Chen's behavior. Looking at Su Chen who was so close to her. With her beautiful eyes widened, she exclaimed, What are you going to do?" "Well, this is my first time too, so I'm a little unskilled. Please bear with me." Su Chen rubbed his hands in embarrassment, looking like he was sitting on pins and needles, with thorns piercing his back. Yes, you can feel that the beautiful waiter is observing him, Bei. However, I can no longer control that much. What? Aha. Gwen obviously didn't understand what Su Chen meant, but she hadn't finished speaking yet. I felt like my mouth was blocked by something, and then I just opened my eyes wide. Stare at the face right in front of you. Gwen didn't know how to respond. She has watched a lot of TV, movies, and even heard her classmates talk about how to kiss. However, when it comes to myself, my brain seems to be completely blank. Nothing is known anymore. But looking at Su Chen, who was kissing her seriously with her eyes closed, her eyelids gradually fell. Soon, I was completely immersed in it. From being blank at the beginning, to slowly responding. Then he kept up with Su Chen's rhythm, and finally, he simply kept Su Chen's back without mercy, and the rhythm began to speed up. This is also the first time for Su Chen. It didn't even count before. Feeling that the other party is taking such initiative, he naturally refuses to be outdone. Hold Gwen's face and keep attacking. In the end, Gwen landed directly in Su Chen's arms, feeling like she was losing control. The beautiful waitress who was waiting at the bar to serve coffee to other customers saw this scene with an anti-smile on her face. "Shayna, you have made another couple." The barista behind the bar took 2 cups of coffee and put them on the tray. He also looked at Su Chen and Gwen who were making a hot coffee. The beautiful waiter covered her mouth and chuckled, and said, "These young lovers now all need a lighter." No, I lit it for them, and it started to burn. The 2 of them didn't know how long they had been fighting, but when they separated, their lips were a little numb. Gwen felt herself being held in Su Chen's arms and didn't know what to say. Su Chen lowered his head and looked into her eyes, and said slowly, "Are you willing to be my girlfriend?" "Ah, but, Jessica and the others." Hearing Su Chen's words, Gwen was simply surprised and happy. She definitely wanted to say yes. But as a best friend, she naturally knows what Jessica thinks about Su Chen. If she and Su Chen were together, would Jessica be sad? Hearing her words, Su Chen was a little funny. This girl is very real and silly. Love is selfish, but she actually thinks about others. If it were Jessica, she would definitely not be like this. We'll talk about this later, are you willing? However, Su Chen naturally would not say that he only wanted her as a woman. To live a new life is to live more freely. I do. Although I know that Su Chen may not give up on Jessica or other women. But Su Chen at least has a part of her. At the moment, Gwen, who had never been in love, was lying in the arms of her lover, feeling so sweet and happy. The words that I wanted to question Su Chen just now disappeared with the kiss just now. After a while, Gwen said, I also want to learn Eastern Chinese cuisine. Su Chen is a little confused as to why she wants to learn Oriental cuisine now. Why, if you like to eat, you can come to the store anytime, Jessica will cook it. As soon as these words came out, Gwen, who was lying peacefully in Su Chen's arms, suddenly stood up. When he looked at Su Chen, his eyes were no longer as gentle as before, but rather fierce. I don't want to eat what she cooks. When I learn how to cook it, it will definitely be more delicious than hers. Humph. After saying that, he took the elastic breasts away from Su Chen's body. Sit on the side. He picked up the cold coffee on the table and drank it by mouth. It's like being angry. Forehead. Seeing the other party's sudden change of expression, Su Chen definitely knew that he seemed to have said the wrong thing. He couldn't help but look at the beautiful waiter on the side. However, this time the other party actually just showed his hands. Make an expression like, there's nothing I can do now. The corners of Su Chen's mouth twitched slightly. How come this mouth is so dishonest? Afterwards, Gwen went into the bathroom and took off her original spider battlesuit. The pair inside is a pair of denim trousers and a navel-bearing t-shirt. Gwen's figure is also perfectly displayed. This clothes is obviously hidden inside the battle suit. With her short golden hair, she looks refreshing and charming. I don't know when Gwen cut her hair. Gwen with short hair seems to be more attractive. After paying the bill, Su Chen followed Gwen, and then the two came to an amusement park. Definitely, this was not requested by Su Chen, but by Gwen herself. I want to play with that. You come with me. Only then did Gwen finally speak. Su Chen smiled slightly. She was still thinking about a little girl. Time flies. Soon, 3 months passed. These days, besides returning to the store, Su Chen just stay in the former Osborne Industrial Park and now Sus Industrial Park to manufacture medical pharmaceuticals. The popularity of medical pharmaceuticals has subverted the medical industry market. Other countries have also placed large orders. There were even dedicated leaders from Dongfang Tianqiao who wanted to come over to thank Su Chen. Su Chen declined. I don't like to interact with too many people. I'm too lazy to play around. Definitely, there are still some countries that accuse Su Chen of having a bad heart, but they have no choice but to place an order. There are definitely countries such as Sakura, Banxi, and Asan. These days, some accidents have happened, and the whiplock who entered the prison was actually rescued. However, this is a mess caused by Tony's family, and he has to worry about it. Sitting on the sofa, Su Chen stretched out his palm. On the palm, a GU insect appeared in a flash of light. This GU insect has 4 colors like a butterfly. This is the 4-flavor wine bug that took Su Chen more than 20 days to make. The surging and pure GU master energy in the body is the result of these 4-flavor wine bugs. With a flip of his palm, a pile of energy blocks appeared on the table. Immediately afterwards, streaks of light flashed in the sky. GU insects of different sizes and colors appeared in the air. After seeing the energy block, he jumped on it crazily and started feasting. Soon, these GU worms were almost eaten. Put it into the orifice. These days, Su Chen has opened 3 more acupoints, and now has 9 acupoints. Acupoints can not only store GU insects, but also condense energy. So, the more, the merrier. Not all the GU insects were collected, and 2 were left outside. Looking at the funnel-like GU worm, Su Chen smiled slightly. Now, the alien energy in Su Chen's body has disappeared. It is precisely because of this GU worm. Purifying water GU. Purifying GU like insects, which can purify foreign energy in the body and turn it into one's own energy to avoid the occurrence of obsessions. You can train with other GU worms to become the master GU worm. Not only can it be used at the GU king level, but it can also be combined into a third level GU insect. It is worthy of being worth more than 600 million. The role of this GU insect is too important. You don't have to worry too much about absorbing other people's energy in the future. Put it into the orifice and fight another insect. This GU insect looks like a cube, with blue light emitting from its entire body. The body shape is very similar to the tesseract. Space GU. Space type GU is also a growth type GU, which can be upgraded according to the owner's strength. The abilities that can be used will gradually increase. Integrate space GU into the body. The space in front of her was like water, with ripples, and Su Chen just stepped in. The next second, he had already appeared in the hall. At the moment, Jessica and Marissa Tomei were cleaning the store. Seeing Su Chen suddenly appear, I just glanced at him and continued to do his work. Obviously, they are already used to this situation. May and I made a meal and left it in the dining room for you. Go and eat it yourself. The speaker was Jessica, who was floating in the air and wiping the glass above. Good, Su Chen responded, nodded with Marissa Tomei, and walked into the restaurant. The latter glanced at Su Chen with the same smile. For some reason, Su Chen always felt that this woman was looking at him more and more wrongly. Even more aggressive than Jessica. After the store was upgraded, it has become 3 floors. The decoration is still the same as that of a classic Oriental Tianqiao store, but the space inside has become much larger. Not only is the outer hall where the poison pets are kept spacious, there is also an additional hall inside. The bedroom, kitchen, and bathroom have all become much larger. There is also an additional bedroom on the first floor. There are halls, bedrooms, bathrooms, and kitchens on the second and third floors. Compared to the previous square footage, it is much more spacious. Although, Tony Stark and Norman Osborn both prepared villas for themselves. Even the butlers, chefs, and service staff are all ready. However, Su Chen still likes her small shop. Su Chen stretched out his hand, and the space rippled like water waves. A wine jar about 30 centimeters in diameter was taken out by Su Chen. Drinking a sour bar today. Although, Su Chen's current physique is no different from drinking water. But the 4-flavor wine bug likes it. If you drink alcohol by yourself, it can also give you pure energy, so why not despise it? It's not much, but it's better than nothing. Su Chen poured herself a glass and drank their Chinese delicacies cooked by Jessica and Marissa Tomei. These days, Marissa Tomei has also learned to cook Oriental dishes under the influence of Jessica. Although the taste is a little worse than Jessica's, it is still very good. Looking at the food for 30 people, Su Chen shook his head, smiled, and started to devour it. They also understand themselves better and better. Now Su Chen's appetite has increased again. One meal would feed 30 people. He also entered the mall to search, but did not find anything like fairy beans, which can provide the energy needed by the body. The answer given by the system is that there will be no such thing until at least the second level. This means that this is the only way you can do it until your strength has improved and you have not opened the second level of the mall. The attributes of this loser are almost the same as those of a Saiyan. Su Chen, someone is looking for you. At this time, Jessica's voice came to Su Chen's ears. Su Chen had already sensed who the visitor was and said, "Let them in." Oh. Soon, 2 figures, a man and a woman, entered the restaurant. The man is tall and burly, while the woman is as slim as a S. None other than Captain America, and Natasha Romanoff. Looking at the sumptuous dishes on the table, I couldn't help but swallow my saliva. During this time, they always come over and send some news to Su Chen. Naturally, I tried Oriental dishes. At this time, he was completely obsessed with Dongfang honor. Looking at their looks, Su Chen reminded. This isn't enough for me to eat myself, don't even think about it. How stingy. Black Widow Natasha Romanoff rolled her eyes at Su Chen. Then, he took out a tablet and handed it to Su Chen. The siblings lived in Sokovia. Their home was destroyed in a war. The siblings depended on each other and lived a miserable life. They suddenly disappeared 2 years ago. Later we investigated and found out that someone seemed to have taken him away. In the photo, there is a girl with a pure face and a smile like an angel. Judging from his age, he doesn't seem to be very old. Natasha Romanoff was a little confused and asked, Su Chen, we can only find so much. We do have doubts about who kidnapped her and her brother. It should be Hydra. Hearing her words, Su Chen nodded slightly. Nick Fury and his men are not stupid, but they actually suspect Hydra. At this time, Captain America also spoke from the side. Su Chen, Jin Bin seems to be a little dishonest these days. They seem to have developed new technologies, and not just one. Oh, regarding Captain America's words, Su Chen just nodded slightly. Seeing Su Chen's leisurely attitude, Captain America was a little worried. Aren't you afraid that he will suddenly attack you? This person is not the kind of brainless guy. Su Chen finished the last bite of the dish and said, Jin Bin is indeed not a brainless villain, but I am not a jobber either. No matter how much technology he develops, he is still vulnerable to actual power. As soon as these words came out, a terrifying momentum burst out. Captain America and Natasha Romanoff's eyes widened. Last time Natasha Romanoff experienced Su Chen's terrifying power, but this time it felt like Su Chen had obviously become stronger again. Captain America felt Su Chen's power for the first time and was even more surprised. He had never felt such power before. In his time, he and Red Skull were the only two people injected with the super soldier serum. But this serum only improves the physique, making one person worthy of an army. But he had only seen this kind of invisible power in 3-0 in Tesseract. I heard Nick Fury and others say before that Su Fu is very strong. But he had no idea, and this time he finally knew. This is a terrifying power that he has never had before. Sorry, I ate too much. Su Chen burped and the aura dissipated from his body. The two of them breathed a sigh of relief. I'm going to see that girl now. Do you want to go? Su Chen looked at the two of them and said casually. Okay. Natasha Romanoff nodded without any hesitation. Although Captain America did not speak, he also acquiesced. They also want to see why Su Chen insists on finding this girl. Su Chen wiped the corners of his mouth and then snapped his fingers. A dark green light shrouded the three people and disappeared in place. The next second, the three of them appeared in an alley. In the alley, a girl was holding a pistol and pointing it at the gang members who were approaching with a grin. However, such a deterrent is not strong, and many members are still approaching. The girl could only tremble and constantly retreat. Finally, my back hit the wall and there was no way to retreat. Don't come over here, otherwise I will shoot. Hey, little sister, you are very brave, you dare to hack our gang's account. Now I give you a chance to return the money and let us brothers have some fun. I'll consider letting you go. Looking at the pistol in the girl's hand, it was like looking at an iron lump, without any fear. As if he was sure that the girl wouldn't be able to shoot, he looked at the girl with even more unscrupulous eyes. No, I'm going to shoot. The girl saw that the leading man was about to grab her arm, and her fingers wanted to press the trigger. But I found that I couldn't press it no matter how hard I pressed it. Ha 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 ha, little sister, don't you know the insurance on this thing needs to be turned off? As he said that, the man actually helped the girl turn off the safety of the pistol. Then, he pointed at his head. Come on, little sister, hit here. The man pointed at his head extremely arrogantly and asked the girl to shoot. The girl looked panicked, obviously it was her first time encountering such a situation. She does dare to steal the gang's money, but she doesn't dare to kill anyone. Even if there were bullets in the pistol and the person she faced was a heinous person, she would not dare to shoot. Seeing the girl's appearance, the man and his little brother burst into laughter. Then, before the girl could react, she slapped the opponent's palm away. The girl screamed in fright at this sudden move. The man grabbed the girl's wrist, looked at the younger brother behind him, and said loudly, "Brothers, haven't we tried playing with women in alleys yet?" "Yes, ha ha ha, boss, you go first, we will come back later." "It's so exciting, ha ha, will my butt freeze?" "Smelly shit, if you're afraid of freezing, don't do it." A kind of little brother whined and screamed strangely, and he had already thought about the scene of ruining the girl for a while. The girl was so frightened that she kept struggling and tried to pick up the pistol beside her. Now, she finally realized how stupid she had been just now. At this time, there is still hesitation. But it was too late for her to think of this now. The man grabbed her wrist tightly and began to unbutton his belt, with a disgusting silver smile on his face. Such a tender girl must be very tight. Oh, really? How did you know that? Just when the man was about to take off his pants, he heard a calm male voice coming from his ear. When he turned around, he saw handsome faces smiling kindly at him. When the man turned around, he also found that his younger brothers had all fallen into a pool of blood at some point. At the moment, the man in front of me seemed to be holding something like a flash stick. The deaths of those younger brothers were tragic. Either his head was chopped off, or his waist was chopped off. In a short period of time, he was the only one left. No, behind the man holding the flash stick, there was a man and a woman standing in shock. The pungent smell of blood almost made the man scream and give birth. He let go of the girl's hand and wanted to take out the pistol in his waist. However, just halfway through his movement, he saw the flashing stick in front of him suddenly slashing at his neck. At the last moment of his life, he realized that the flash stick was faster than a knife. The girl who closed her eyes in despair suddenly felt something warm spraying on her face. Then I smelled a strong smell of blood. When she opened her eyes, she saw a scene that she would never forget. The head of the gangster who wanted him just now fell to the ground, and a large amount of blood spurted out from the neck of his body that had not yet fallen. Looking forward again, the gangsters who were shouting just fell to the ground at some point. Likewise, the death was tragic. "Hey, what's your name?" It was only then that the girl noticed Su Chen, who was covered in blood. He looked at the young man holding something that looked like a flash stick and smiled at him. "This is a place where you can't find anything even if you wear iron shoes, and it takes no effort at all to get there. Su Chen wants the obelisk, actually to find this girl and awaken her super ability. Then, you can use the system to copy and become a GU insect. After all, this is a vibration power." Unexpectedly, shield was not found, but he found it himself. What Su Chen didn't know was that his smile at the moment, combined with his current appearance covered in blood, he looked like a bloodthirsty demon. Sure enough, after the girl saw Su Chen's smile, my legs suddenly became weak. His eyes gradually became hollow, and his head tilted and he fainted. Seeing this scene, Yinshin suddenly felt a little confused. Knowing that Natasha Romanoff took out a small makeup mirror from nowhere and saw what she looked like now. Only then did I understand why the girl fainted. Su Chen put the girl on his shoulders with some embarrassment, and looked at the two outstanding superheroes who would become in the future. "If you don't leave, could it be that you want to help me clean up the battlefield?" The two shook their heads hastily. They don't want S.H.I.E.L.D. to get involved in this matter. Anyway, each of these guys has a human life on their hands. Su Chen killed these people. Although it was a bit cruel, it was still considered as eliminating harm for the people. The space fluctuated, and several people disappeared in place. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.